Morning, good to be with you again on a beautiful sunny morning, and it's great to be out here overviewing the smokestack, one of Sudbury's symbols. And I thought I would include that in today's video in light of what I'm talking about, and also because it's a symbol that in the next year or so is going to be coming down, and it's been replaced by those shorter white stacks instead of the big smokestack. The big smokestack right now, you can see it pretty much from anywhere in Sudbury, and it's even on our Sudbury logo, so I guess they're going to have to redo that one when the time comes. Well, this morning as we're here continuing to build on the 4 pillars of a healthy Christian business leader. And the 4 pillars are healthy relationships, biblical financial values, biblical spirituality, and balanced living. And this week we're focusing on healthy relationships. And because this is June and it's a month in which we celebrate Father's Day, I thought I would focus on our relationship with Dad. And so I've called it Dad Stuff. And that's kind of the focus this week. So far, we've talked about honoring your father and recognizing that we need to honor him. That doesn't mean give him ultimate control. Doesn't mean once you're married that you still have to obey him, but you are to honor him. And then yesterday we talked about Dad's the man. The idea that when we're young, we look up to our dad. We believe our dad is like a superhero. We kind of go through that phase in the teens, early 20s, where we realize that he's maybe not as smart or as strong as we thought he was. But then we kind of again come to the realization that he does have some knowledge and some wisdom, and that as we grow older. Well, today I'm going to talk about following in Dad's footsteps. It was common in the past that if your dad was a carpenter, then you'd be a carpenter. And here in Sudbury, actually, it was common that if your dad worked for Valet, or at the time Inco, then chances are you would work for Inco or for Valet, and that was quite the reality. And often there would be 2 and 3 generations of family members who would be working in the mines, and that's true here. I grew up in Belgium. In Belgium, we had coal mines. We had 2 coal mines in the city in which I grew up, and that they were the primary employees at the time. And of course, that was just one of the realities. If your dad was a miner, you normally would become a miner, and so forth. And so that was certainly kind of the way things were back in the day. Today, that's no longer the norm. And often when someone actually does what their dad does, people are a little bit surprised. So for me, for instance, my dad was a missionary pastor. And when I became a pastor, people would make comments about how I followed in my father's footsteps. And my son, my oldest son, is also a pastor, and so people have made comments about him following in my footsteps and in his grandfather's footsteps. But if it was just following in my dad's footsteps, I would never survive. I would never survive, never have survived, because we need more than just that. We need a calling. But that's true not just for pastors, for missionaries. That's true for whatever it is that you do. If you get into being a plumber or electrician just because that's what your dad does or dad did, and your heart's not in it, there's a very good chance that you're not going to stick with that, because it's just it requires too much of us if we are not loving what we're doing. And so I would always encourage people, don't just follow in your dad's footsteps in that way. Make sure this is a passion that you have, whatever it is that you're doing. Now, there are other ways that we follow in our Father's footsteps. And here are some. One is, it shows up in how we work. What is our work ethic? We learn that from our parents. And I would say, in many ways, we learn that from our dad. How does he work? We also, how we treat people. It is significant that the way our dad treats people, the way he is when he's in the mall, when he's in the store, when he's in the neighborhood, the way he treats people rubs off on us. And it is often the way he treats people that we end up treating people. How we talk to people, how we talk about people. We learn that from our dad. And then how we think. You know, how we think politically, how we think spiritually. You know, there's statistics that show that when it comes to spirituality, that if dad is a spiritual man, if he goes to church, if he worships God on a regular basis, the chances of his children worshiping God are far greater than if he does not. Even if mom is faithful, if mom is faithful going every Sunday, the amount of kids that will end up going every Sunday and serving God and living for God their entire lives, the number drops drastically. But if dad goes and dad worships and dad serves in the church, it is amazing the impact that has on the family. Now, many things in life are not taught, but are caught. And that's a common statement that people make out there. That many things are not taught, but they're caught. Meaning that it's not something that your dad sat down with you and said, okay, this is how you should live. This is what you should do. There are times that we do that as fathers, obviously, and we should do that. But there are many times that our kids just simply catch what we do. There are times that I see my dad in myself in unexpected ways. There are times I look at myself in the mirror and I say, whoa, like, where did he come from? And that's the reality. Have you ever said, I'll never do that? I'll never do. You watched your dad do something, treat the kids in a certain way, treat his wife in a certain way, treat the neighbors in a certain way, and you say, I will never do that, only to find yourself doing the very same thing that you said you would not do. Well, it's because lots of things are not taught, they're caught. Jacob, I talked about him yesterday. Well, Jacob, he favored Joseph over all of Joseph's brothers. And it wasn't just because he was the youngest and cute and the other ones were old and not cute. No, it was not that, because they were all pretty much the same age. I talked about that yesterday, all within a time span of 6.5 years. Here's the thing, Jacob caught that. He wasn't taught that, but he caught that. Isaac favored Esau over Jacob. Rebekah favored Jacob over Esau. And it even goes back further than that, because Abraham favored Isaac over Ishmael. And yes, I know there's a difference between Isaac and Ishmael. Isaac was a child of promise, and Ishmael was the child born out of a slavery. And we understand that, and we get that biblically. But in a practical reality of the family life, Isaac was favored. And that was passed down to his children, which was passed down to his grandchildren. Today, as you go about your day, what characteristics of your dad are evident in your life? I pray that they're the good ones, the things that you can say, I am so thankful I have that. May we learn to develop the good things we caught from our dads, and then to discard the things that might be harmful. May the Lord bless you. Have a great day, and we'll see you again tomorrow in another location.